Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, we give you our recap of AEW's all-out pay-per-view. The G1 blocks are out, the real WrestleMania. Finn Balor is your new NXT champion. Rusev goes to AEW. Bayley turns heel. Roman Reigns is a total heel. Jey Uso is the number one contender. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Why is Bayley turned heel? She's already been heel.
Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Mark. So welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I am your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. Kim Job-un. And over there, not too far away from my place, at his new place in South City, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
Allow us to bow our heads as I read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 172, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saith, hashtag through the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. Shout out to my man, Brian. Thank you for the hookup this weekend on the Comfort Sofa Sleeper. I'll be looking for that on Sunday. Yes, new place, new beginnings, new chapter. It is all good. Got the tag team champions of Cats on either side of me. I'm ready to talk some wrestling. Let's do this shit.
And out there in Edwardsville, Illinois, we have Two Beer. Zach Pullman. What's going on, Two Beer?
Oh, not much. I'm pretty sure every single person in my house was FaceTiming and video gaming at the exact same time just now because I had no bandwidth.
No
but
bandwidth.
I'm good now.
You gotta figure out the bandwidth. You gotta tell the kids. I mean, when it's BFR time, it's BFR time. You need all the bandwidth. Emphasis on width. I am coming at you from South City, steamy South City. It is hot as fuck. Hey guys. I had some vacation time, and it was like a use it or lose it situation. So I had yesterday off. I played 18 holes with our good friend Vice Bo Giesman, who gives me the AKAs every week. We had a hell of a time. Talked about life, talked about love, talked about golf, talked about wrestling. But I watched, because I had today off, I have watched wrestling since 9 a.m., boys. I have been getting ready for the podcast because I did not watch All Out live. So we're ready. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We are kicking back the NXT takeover to next week because we all made the decision that there was a little bit too much stuff going on this week. We didn't want to be rushed, but we might have a longer podcast for you today than usual because some timing issues over here. So, JCB, why don't you tell us about F&B Eatery?
F&B Eatery on the corner of 3453 Southampton and Marquette. It was 15 minutes away. Now it is 6 minutes away. So I really have no excuse to slide in and grabbing some curbside from the best place you've never heard of, the best smash burger you never heard of. Go in, get you some curbside. Like I say every week, follow them on your social media. That way you know when they are open. All one word, F&B Eatery on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Do yourself a big favor. Don't meet me there. Beat me there. F&B Eatery on the corner of 3453 Southampton. Tell them that Banned from Ringside sent you.
Let's get to that 3 counts.
1, 2, 3.
JCB, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you very much. Let's go back to Saturday night. All Out, Daly's Place. The biggest takeaway for me for All Out was probably the tag team title match where you had Kenny Omega and Adam Page losing to FTR. I think we all saw this coming at some point, especially when FTR won the gauntlet match. But to me, the story was after the match, how Kenny lets Adam fall in front of him, basically showing disdain for the whole ride at this point. He's ready to go. He's kind of storms off. Kind of looked like he was going to hit him with the table, didn't do it. That's why I was like, oh, is this going to be the Kenny turn? Not happening. So obviously he storms off to the back. And one of the things that caught my ear was him saying that it's time to do a clean sweep of things. We're going to start cleaning up house. That to me is maybe a foreshadowing of the return of the cleaner. That is, at least my hope. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think obviously Kenny's turning heel. The gimmick, I think, is still TBA. But for me, I thought that was the biggest takeaway from All Out. I thought the overall show was really good. I know there were complaints about the length of time of the show, but for me, this is one of their big four, so it's going to go a little longer. So it's just going to be one of those things where everybody's going to have to take a little bit and maybe not watch all of the buy-in, jump in when, the matches start. So it might be a little shorter for those who are complaining that it is too long. Like I said, for me, I thought it was more than enough time because you got to do everything I think that they tried to accomplish on the show. I thought MJF was amazing in the main event. I liked the dichotomy of his quote-unquote technical wrestling versus Moxley's hardcore style, so to speak. Like I said, I just thought it was really, really good. Just considering I watched it a couple days ago, it still kind of sticks out in my mind, and I don't feel like I missed anything or I'm going to change my mind if anybody comes up with an opposing viewpoint. But like I said, All Out I thought was really good. If I had to give it a letter grade, I'll go B-.
Zach, what was your big takeaway?
My biggest takeaway was MJF, man. Like, there is not a single person, if you put them in a time vacuum and they were a professional wrestling fan, or even if they weren't, and you showed them that MJF Moxley match and said, do you think either one of these guys, it was their first main event ever, right? That was MJF's first pay-per-view main event, and he completely rose to the occasion and had what arguably the best match on the show. I mean, there's that, and then there's the tag match for the titles, which was phenomenal, and I really liked the opener with the other tag match, the Lucha Express and Young Bucks. But
Sheeta Thunder Rosa was really good too.
No,
yeah, it was a really good match.
I thought that was the match of the night.
There was a bunch of good matches on this show, but I was talking with Tinder Mahal the other night, and I was like, man, I really think that we are seeing, who could be the greatest wrestler to ever live when he's 24 years old right now. I'm not saying he's the best right now, but just with how much talent is in that package, if he stays healthy and he keeps being a student of the game and he's able to reinvent Chris Jericho and stay relevant for 25, 30 years, MJF is so sound in everything that he does, and it's just amazing to me. And they put on just a hella pay-per-view main event. And Moxley, he had an interview last month that I listened to with it was just a few weeks ago. It was right around the time Renee left WWE with Meltzer on the Observer Radio. And he said, does anybody ever tell you that they remind you remind them of Terry Funk? And I was like, oh man, that's an actual great comparison, because Moxley reminded me of Terry Funk in this main event, selling a legit badass. Terry Funk just always came off not as a bombastic professional wrestler. He just came across as a real shooter, mean, badass guy, and his selling was always hyper realistic. And when Moxley was shoving his shoulder into the turnbuckle, just trying to pop it back into place, so to speak, that was part of the story of the match, was his shoulder. MJF not wanting to be outside, Moxley not being able to use the paradigm shift. The finish was great, because here you have Moxley quote unquote cheating, so then MJF still has a legitimate claim to being undefeated because Moxley was the cheater, but then MJF himself is a cheater, so the cheater got out cheated. I just thought it was just brilliant, man. That main event was so good and capped off a really good show. And like Jason said, it's you say it's one of the big four. It's they only do 4 pay-per-views a year. It's they're going to be 4 hours. Would you rather have a 2-hour show? You paid $50 for it. fuck off if you think it's like 30 minutes too long. Like,
Man, were people
you're like,
saying that?
There were.
That was one of the big complaints that I read on Twitter or whatever, that it was too long. And, you know, I get it. I think in the age of the pandemic, especially WWE has made a conscious effort to not have really long shows unless it is one of the big four, which I totally understand. Like I said, for me, I think AEW has obviously more than 4 shows. You know, you'll sprinkle in a Full Gear here, or, you know, something at the beginning of the year. If this was a normal year, quote unquote, they would obviously have more than 4 shows. But like I said, for me, All Out is especially needs to be 3+ hours, because that's where it all started. All In, hell, we were there. That's where it all started. So I don't understand how people all of a sudden going to decide, oh, wait, let's, you know, reduce the amount of time All Out is. I mean, that's like saying, you know, oh, let's take WrestleMania down to 2.5 hours. That's a bunch of bullshit, okay? Let's just keep it for what it is. It was a good show. And people that are complaining that it's too long of a show fail to realize that this is 2020, and they put on a really fucking good show in a scenario where they probably didn't have to do it, but they want to do it. So let's enjoy the fucking show, whether it's 3 hours, 5 hours, 2 hours, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't watch it live, so I knew the outcomes, which always kind of, you know, it's not the same thing as sitting in a room with your boys and, you know, drinking and having a good time and watching and wondering who's going to win. But I saw a bunch of people giving it, you know, subpar grades also, and I went into it thinking that these were going to be boring matches with, you know, with not a whole lot going on, and I found it to be exactly the opposite. I thought the Dark Order Babyfaces match was just okay. I thought Moxley versus MJF was a perfect example of old school wrestling in the modern era. Y2J versus Cassidy was what it was. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of that thing where somebody gets, you know, where they have to fake like they're going to go into the vat or whatever. But, I mean, it was a fine blow-off for a feud that really, on paper, looked fun, but actually ended up packing more of a punch than it really had any business doing, to be honest. Page and Omega versus FTR was great. Now, that match in particular...
Real quick about...
Sure.
With Page and Omega, I just got to say... The Page wearing the long pants as like kind of a sign of like team, like we're gonna be on the same team because I'm gonna wear long pants for the first time that I've ever seen him wear long pants. And then whenever he does it, like, and he hits him with that, when Kenny hits him with the V trigger and Kenny's like laying down, like grabbing at the tassels of said pants. Oh my God. The pants just came into play so well.
It was, yeah, I loved FTR versus Page and Omega, and I loved Jurassic Express versus Young Bucks. I'd be remiss in saying that I agree with Jason that it looks like Omega, and not that it's subtle or anything, but it looks like Omega is going to be the heel coming out of this breakup when it finally happens. And it also looks like the Young Bucks are, I mean, they wrestled heel Saturday night. They super kicked the guy, I can't remember his name, Alex Marvez or whatever. I mean, it looks like we could have the Young Bucks and Omega maybe going all heel together. One of my big takeaways that you guys didn't mention was it looked like Matt Hardy was dead. And
that was so bad, man.
I'm surprised they went back to the match and allowed the restart, because he was so obviously concussed. Like, maybe the most obviously concussed I've ever seen anybody try to continue a match. That includes when Owen Hart broke Steve Austin's neck. Hardy looked worse. I mean, Hardy looked like he couldn't hold his, like a baby that couldn't support its own head, you know? And that
he was unconscious for 44 seconds. Like, how do you not just stop the match and say, go to the hospital? Like,
yeah, that was legit scary. And I saw the promo on Dynamite before I watched the pay-per-view, and so I was like, oh, well, let's see what this looks like. And it looked as bad as you think it might be. So I'm glad he's okay, but it looks like he's going to take some time out maybe to just recover from that. Did you guys, I mean, in the moment when you guys were watching it, did it appear to you that he was selling? Or, I mean, because when I watched it looked like he was knocked the fuck out.
It was the most scared I've been watching professional wrestling in a very long time. And the last time that I got that scared, I was actually worked real hard by D-Bry whenever Brock Lesnar kept dumping him on his head right after he came back from his like seemingly career-ending injury.
Yeah, that's actually not real cool, D-Bry.
Yeah, but he's still like he worked me. That was not like a legit injury. But I mean, I was frightened, man, because Matt Hardy's no spring chicken, and he was completely unconscious. And you could see Aubrey was panicking, and she was trying to stop the thing. And Sammy Guevara is panicking, but he's doing the opposite. He's panicking, and he's going into, worker mode and trying to sell the match. And
it didn't look like it was Sammy's fault either. It didn't look like it was Hardy's fault. It looked like they both probably just didn't estimate correctly how far the table that was supposed to take the spot was.
Maybe just don't like dive off a scissor lift onto concrete 2 minutes into a match. I don't know. Like maybe just don't do that. Like,
I can't believe they went back to the match.
It didn't make the match any better. You know what I mean? Had the match gone and been like whatever it was supposed to be, would we really be like talking about how life changing this spot was and how awesome it was? It was a longer show. It would have been forgotten. You get a little pop out of it, but dude, it's not worth it, man.
I mean,
no, I agree, Joey. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I mean, the only counter to that I would say is that these guys do shit like this all the time. That it's unbelievable they don't get hurt all the time anyway. That's how good they are. It just seemed to be that they misestimated. That's not a word. How come I can't fucking think of the word? They just fucked up.
Overestimated?
They fucked up the spot. How about that?
They did fuck up the spot, ultimately, and that's where that's my problem with this. It's clear that they fucked up the spot. I'm not going to say who did what wrong. Okay, I think they both did things wrong. But then it's clear that Matt Hardy is out. He's out like a light, not moving, not responding. That's where the match should have ended. The fact that they restarted the match and then on top of it tried to justify why they restarted the match pissed me off. Stop the match and just be done with it. I'd rather go like that versus, okay, let's fast forward to the finish because that's apparently what the finish was supposed to be.
Right.
And then we can move on to the next match. Man, look, there is nothing wrong with taking a step back and just making sure that the talent is all right. I know we give AEW a lot of props, but this was a bullshit fucking call, plain and simple.
I agree, and especially to have a guy that's obviously concussed climb scaffolding or climb the the riser or whatever and throw a guy off. I mean, I know that Sammy Guevara wasn't concussed, but that's not really safe for either one of them. Because what if Matt Hardy fucking has a brain hemorrhage up there or something because he got concussed so bad?
Matt Hardy should not have even been walking on his own.
I totally agree.
He should have been in a wheelchair on a gurney, like sitting down with wheels, like because he could have passed out at any time. Mm-hmm. It was just absolutely like bonkers to me. And it's, like they need to have that in place, and you'd think that they already would, but they obviously don't. And, Matt Hardy's respected, but he's because he's a veteran, but like those guys are always going to want to do the show goes on thing. And Tony Khan, even though he's not like just a money mark, he's obviously got a lot of respect for these older guys that he's been watching since he was a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like if we put on a show, like if we promoted a BFR show and somehow we scrounge up enough money to like book Matt Hardy and he hit his head on some goddamn concrete, like, are we going to be able to like say like, no man, we got to get you to the hospital? Or is he going to be like, I'm fine? You know what I mean? Like you got to kind of put yourself in that position, but at the same time, like you got to just make the right call and be like, no, this show is done.
It's the same thing that happens every time the Cardinals manager goes out there to take out Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright's going to be like, no, let me finish the inning. Of course I can finish the inning. It's like, yeah, he's going to say that. The reason that Adam Wainwright's so good. The reason that Matt Hardy is so good is because they have that in them that they want to keep going. Now, they're not always concussed, and concussions are something that should scare the fuck out of everybody, because concussions are the way that you end up being a vegetable by the time you're 55 years old. I'm not trying to be flippant. Like, that's the fact of CTE. And they just, I think that was a big mistake, especially if they're trying to be the anti-WWE and they're trying to take better care of their wrestlers. Then you just have to end that. And if Sammy Guevara wins, then you write your way out of it. It's fucking pro wrestling. You can write your way out of it any way that you have to. But if Aubrey Edwards is going to count him out 10, then you just go ahead and fix it. You know, who cares? What's really important is Matt Hardy
versus. Go ahead.
It ended up okay, except for the concussion. But I mean, can you imagine how bad it would have looked if Matt Hardy would have fallen off the thing that he was climbing or something and broken arm? I mean, it would be. And I'm saying break an arm just because I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but it would be totally shitty. I mean, they would be on the hook. It's just, it was kind of mind-blowing to me that they present themselves the way that they do, and then they let that happen.
No, I agree with that totally, and I think that's and it's not like I'm the hugest A Mark W by any stretch, but if you're going to say that you're going to present yourself, like you said, as product A, but then you do things like product B, I got to call it hypocritical at best. There's no way that match should have continued, and that's just the whole thing. Just kind of pissed me off because ultimately Tony Khan just has to protect talent from themselves. At that point, I could tell he was out of it. I've had a concussion before, just one, and that joker lingered for 3, 4, 5 days after the fact, where were you knocked out completely? No, it was a football game, and some guy grabbed my shirt and he jerked me down, and my head hit the grass or whatever. And I could tell right away that I wasn't right, but I continued to play. But then everything was like in slow motion. I started to get a headache. I was feeling nauseous, and I could clearly tell I wasn't right. So I mean, if I could tell I wasn't right then, Matt Hardy definitely knows.
Keep going, Jason. Keep going, Jason.
Don't tempt me with a good time. No, Matt Hardy. Well, I shouldn't say that. He doesn't know, but he should know that something's not right. Aubrey did the right thing by counting the 10 count or whatever, and Tony Khan just needs to like you said, support that, and then write your way out of it. It's not that big of a deal. Like you said, this is professional wrestling. We do it all the fucking time.
Yeah, we're all in on the joke. We all know that it's fake, but you shouldn't be endangering anybody else. I mean, if it was bad enough to where Matt Hardy has to come out the next week on Dynamite and do a promo about how bad it looked, then that's pretty fucking bad. Zach, your joke kind of got cut off with the connection. What did you say? It's always funnier when you have to say a joke twice.
I know. No, it was just Jason was saying time slowed down. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Have you ever smoked DMT?
I went to fish a couple of years ago, and this guy had DMT in a vape. Lance Archer.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. Lance Archer won the Battle Royal.
You guys were right.
I want to say, Zach, that was your only missed pick of the night.
It was. I really boned it up. I was a total Darby mark, and I forgot that Darby just had a title match, like on Dynamite. We just watched it. Like, it was a dumb move on my part.
So to give the points, out of 11 total points, because we said we were giving 3 to the Battle Royal winner, Jason and I both had 9, and Zach had 8. If Zach would have nailed the Lance Archer pick, and he was the chalk favorite for it, Zach would have had 11. But Lance Archer winning kind of probably made it a little less suspenseful about who was going to win the title match, the main event. How are we feeling about Lance Archer versus John Moxley. Zach.
I mean, it'll be a good match. Like, he's the murder machine, and Moxley is Moxley. Did they face each other in the G1 last year? I can't remember.
That's a great question.
I don't think they did. I think they were on opposite blocks. Moxley was B block. I know that for a fact. I want to say if Archer was in it, which I'm assuming he was in the A block.
Well, he was definitely in it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I'll look it up real fast. Go ahead.
He had a good. He's good with like big guys too. Like that Brody Lee match was one of the better matches that he's had. He had a title match on Dynamite, and worked with a big guy, and I think it's going to be solid. Like they're both really good workers. Like I don't see Lance Archer like taking the thing. I think it's just kind of a placeholder.
Well, that was my next question. You don't see Lance Archer taking it from Ambrose or from Moxley? Sorry.
No, I think that is I think if I'm like future booking coming out of All Out, I think they heat Kenny up real quick. They throw him in a skillet. They heat him up, and Cleaner cleans house. And they already had a little rivalry thing going. Kenny's already lost to Moxley, and then you got Omega and Paige, and you got Paige chasing Omega for this title.
God damn! Okay. Let this dude book the
territory. I was just getting ready to say, give that man a pin. I could see Lance Archer winning. I'm not just going to say it's going to happen, but can I see it? Yeah, I can see it. Moxley's had the title for a while. I'm not saying that he's going to surpass Jericho if he hasn't already done so, but I mean, for wrestling, standards, he's had the title for a little bit. Now, I guess the bigger question is this going to be a trend where the AEW champion is champion for a while? Hopefully that is the case, but only time will tell. I love Two Beer's idea about Omega coming after Moxley because that was one of the first big matches that they had. That was Moxley's obviously debut on AEW, and that's kind of dissipated away maybe for this very particular reason. So yeah, if this ends up being Omega versus Moxley for the title, shit, sign me up.
I'm looking it up right now, and Moxley and Archer were not in the same block last year. And just looking on Wikipedia trying to figure this out, I forgot that Lance Archer defeated Will Ospreay in the first night of the G1 last year in an 18-minute match. And I remember that match.
I forgot about that.
I remember that match being fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and I think that's a pretty good segue into our 2 count.
1, 2, 3.
2 Beer. I'm going to go take a piss, and I know I don't want to leave you out here because I know sometimes you start talking to me and I'm not here. I'm going to go take a piss, and why don't you kick us off on our 2 count?
That's cool. Yeah, I got plenty to say about the G1 here. Just a quick rundown. We have a block that is more stacked than Miho Abe. It is Kota Ibushi, Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb coming back. A few of these guys coming back. They're in quarantine right now in their hotel rooms or wherever. Kota Ibushi, who was the winner last year. Jeff Cobb, and a finalist for the last 2 years. Jeff Cobb, Kazuchika Okada, Tomohiro Ishii, Will Ospreay, Shingo Takagi, Jay White, Yujiro Takahashi, not Hiromu, unfortunately, and Minoru Suzuki and Taichi. Now that thing is stacked. The only weakness is Yujiro, who hasn't even been in this thing in 5 years, even though he's been in it 7 times, and Taichi, who can be really, really good, in fairness.
I was about to say, don't sleep, man. Don't sleep.
He can be very, very good. Like, he's like hit or miss. Honestly, I kind of like, he's like a less talented Randy Orton of New Japan. Like, he can really pull it out if he wants to, but it just decides, like, if somebody's going to give him the night off, he's going to take the night off. So. Wow.
I don't know. Well, I don't know about all that. I mean, I guess I'm back on the Tai Chi bandwagon after the Summer Struggle tour where him and Zack Sabre Jr. and Kota Tanahashi had, to me, one of the best storylines come. Even though Naito got the title back, I was more invested in that storyline than the Naito storyline, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
No, I'm being dead serious. You can look on my Twitter at BFRJCB and you can see it for yourself. I was way more into this. That to me, and you got to remember, when we started watching New Japan, we were like, okay, let's do it. Tanahashi was the ace. Okada was the man, but Tanahashi was the ace. So to see the sunset of the career of the ace kind of, is a little shocking. So that's why, to me, it felt more important, and it was going to be getting me more invested. Plus, they teased Ibushi turning on Tanahashi, too. Shit.
Oh, I'm with you. So, B block, speaking of, Tanahashi leads off the B block. 19th appearance in a row. This guy's been in 19 G1s in a row. Juice Robinson for his 4th appearance, 4th in a row. Hiroki Goto, 13th appearance, 13th in a row. That's a lot of Goto, who's also great. Toru Yano, Jason.
Fuck Yano.
Oh, come on, dude. Come on. You ain't got to be like that. Come on.
You act like I wasn't going to say it.
Tetsuya Naito's gotten his 11th appearance, 11th in a row. We got Sonata, Evil, Kenta for the 2nd year in a row, and then Zack Sabre Jr. for the 4th year in a row. So B block, also ton of talent, but A block
is just loaded.
Yeah, I'd say it's like, I'm not even gonna make that comparison because it's just mean.
Was it gonna be racist?
It was not.
Okay.
Okay, never mind.
All right.
I was gonna say, fucking say it then.
Everybody's disappointed now. But really, so here's real key takeaways. So for those of you guys who, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably familiar, but everybody's going to be wrestling everybody else in those blocks, and then the winner of each block is going to go on to wrestle each other. So last year, for reminders for some of you guys, because, this has been the longest year ever.
Yeah.
We had...
It's actually been more than a year since the last one.
And it has been more than a year because COVID has delayed it. So it's usually like in July, August. So Kota Ibushi took the briefcase over from Jay White in the finals, and he unfortunately lost to Kazuchika Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, so he was not able to finish. And the year before that, he was a finalist in one of the greatest matches that I've ever seen in my entire life, which is Kota Ibushi versus Tanahashi. And if I'm given early bets, I've not analyzed this yet. We're going to do our typical G1 sheet before the G1 starts, and then we'll go through and we'll give all of our picks, and it's kind of like March Madness, only for wrestling nerds. I think that this is going to be a 3rd year of Kota Ibushi in the finals, because Kota Ibushi has that unending contract with New Japan, and it's like his boyhood dream to win the IWGP Championship, and he's just, long-term storytelling. He's tried and he's failed. They don't give it to you the first time out. This is classic ghetto long-term stuff. And the way they've set up with Tanahashi and Kota teaming this year, and the swan song of Tanahashi, I really think this is the swan song, and this is Tanahashi's last time to win a block. He might do it. He might be in there for a little while longer, although his knees are not doing too well. But I think we're going to get a Kota Ibushi Tanahashi final where he goes completely all out, and Kota Ibushi wins, and then Kota Ibushi wins at Wrestle Kingdom.
Zach,
early prediction.
Jay Bell, do you have an early prediction?
I wasn't going that deep in. I was just going to predict the ultimate winner, and I was leaning towards Jay White. It's been a while since we've seen Jay White on the scene in New Japan. Obviously, he's been on New Japan Strong. I thought he had an impressive G1 last year. Obviously, in that Final Four of guys for Wrestle Kingdom, I think that I'm not saying he's going to be champion. I just got a feeling that Jay White is back, and he's back for a reason. This might be just wishful thinking on my part that he and Evil have some discord inside of Bullet Club, and that gives us another storyline to watch. But I'm leaning towards Jay White, but I'm totally not disagreeing with what TBZ said. That totally makes sense. And that's the way they did it. I wouldn't have a problem with that either. But before he even spoke, I was going to say Jay White, so I'll stick to Jay White.
I mean, there's a bunch of fun ways that you can go. Like, I mean, if they wanted to make another star, Sonata's there for the taking. You know, if they wanted to go back to something that's more tried and true, Naito, Kenta, Evil are all good picks. If you wanted to make another star in the A block, you know, you could take Shingo or you could take Taichi. Obviously, Taichi had a really great New Japan Cup. He looked really good. He had a bunch of wins. But I think the chalk is probably the best call, and I think that's Kota Ibushi. Personally. I guess it could be Will Ospreay. Here's the thing. I look at this list, and, man, it is all 20. It's just stacked. Just absolutely stacked. With matches that I want to watch, and I don't call it the real WrestleMania for nothing. It's actually the best. It's my favorite part of the year, and I've only watched 2, I think. So if you listen to this podcast on the regular and you want to know what the fuck we're talking about, I couldn't recommend more trying to find a way to either pay for NJPW or watch that shit on YouTube. Do whatever you can, because we're going to be doing a lot of G1 breaking down here on Banned from Ringside. Isn't that right, boys?
It is. You guys want to hear a couple first-time matchups that we've never seen?
I do.
Do a little research here.
Yeah.
Minoru Suzuki versus Jeff Cobb. That sounds awesome. Never seen it.
Suzuki wasn't in it last year either.
He wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
And he probably wouldn't have been this year except for COVID. But I don't know. I don't know that. But I just figured he was just like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm 51. You know, like
right.
You know. And I'm a chain smoker.
Right.
Suzuki versus Ospreay. That sounds awesome. Shingo Takagi versus Kazuchika Okada. What?
Oh, man.
Okay, wait.
They've never fought?
Quick timeout. I know we all kind of said, early predictions. Nobody's predicting Okada from the A block?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous, right?
It's like the Yankees. You just don't have to, say it.
It's just no fun to say it.
Or the Patriots. He could win, yeah.
Okay, it just surprised me that we all said different names and nobody said the obvious name.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Shingo Takagi versus Kota Ibushi. That's going to be some hard hitting stuff. Jeff Cobb versus Okada. Jeff Cobb versus Ibushi. And then what about 2 stablemates? This sounds awesome. Will Ospreay versus Ishii.
Damn. See?
They've never had a match?
One shit.
They're both in Chaos. So
Chaos, they're not going to wrestle each other.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's a no-no. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I like tournaments, and that's why I love the G1. It doesn't matter who it is. You're going to get matches that you didn't think about, and the matches that you might have thought about are going to end up being good-ass matches. I cannot fucking wait.
It's the best. No doubt about it. Any other thoughts on this, guys? Sorry, I'm putting my bet to my bookie right now, so I'm not really even listening.
My only thoughts are that having Shingo and Ishii in the same block is just going to bring everyone's scores up. That A block score, what do you think, they're going to average? 4.75 stars?
I mean...
No, the whole thing is just going to be amazing, man. I mean, like I said,
it always is.
I'm really interested. The B block is just not getting any love, but I mean, I'm looking at it right now. That's a good block.
Fuck yeah, man! It's got Sonata Evil. It's got Sonata Evil, Kenta, Sabre Jr., Naito, Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, Goto. Yoshihashi is probably my blind spot in there, but then it's got my boy. Yano.
Dude, man.
It's got Yano, dude.
Fuck that dude.
Do you remember how good Yano Moxley was last year? Do you remember how good that was? Do you remember the time? It was fucking awesome. Anyway, I'm looking forward to, we are looking forward, as a collective, we're looking forward to the G1 Climax this year. It starts on Saturday the 19th, which is about 9 days away. So, without further ado, let's
I'm
get
looking forward to Yano pinning Naito.
Dude, seriously?
Oh my God.
I'm right here. I'm sitting right here.
It would be so good.
Dude, he already did it, motherfuckers. Why do you think I don't like that dude?
Yeah, it would be so good again. Like, Yano just has Naito's number. That's cool.
It's okay, Steve. Don't. I could be there in 10 minutes. Don't test me.
You're a nerd.
Let's get to that, the recount.
Good answer.
$1 million. You stand in a filthy denim jacket.
I just messed that up. But, so the 3 count is we had the NXT title match on NXT Wednesday nights, and Finn Balor is your new NXT heavyweight champion, going over Adam Cole in 23 minutes and 9 seconds. It was a fun match. I mean, I wish that there weren't commercial breaks. Zach, what'd you think of it?
Absolutely, yeah. I really wish that, given the way that, AEW is able to do that consistently, I've seen 2 matches in a row without commercial breaks from them, and it doesn't seem like the way they break up the show that it's terrible later on in the show. So, like, whenever we have, like, a match like that we've been waiting for 2 weeks now because they screwed us on the finish last week, like, having such a good match broken up by commercials that's only 20 minutes long, like, it just seems silly to me. But it was fantastic. These guys are both amazing workers, and I just really, really, really enjoyed them.
JCB, what you think?
Yeah, no surprise that Finn Balor won. I think we all kind of said that we expect that to happen because obviously we're all kind of expecting Adam Cole to go to, well, I shouldn't say go up to, but go to either Raw or SmackDown. I agree with the commercial breaks. I mean, if you're going to build this thing up and have it lead off the show, you can't have commercial breaks in the middle of it. I mean, this is the payoff, and you're taking even those 2 or 3 minutes away from the match kind of takes away from the match. And I'm not saying the match was bad; it was good, but it just kind of took away from the overall experience from it for me personally. I just finished watching the match before we started the pod. Like I said, I thought it was really good. I thought Adam Cole kind of being babyface post-match was a little interesting, giving respect and props to Finn Balor. That, that's not the Adam Cole that I know.
Baby.
So maybe that might be that might be a precursor to what he might be on Raw or SmackDown. But neither here nor there. I thought it was a really good match. But yeah, the commercial breaks. You couldn't do a commercial break for the Velveteen Dream match. I mean, come on. That's the stuff I'm talking about. It's the little stuff that makes me really critical with NXT, especially because before they got to USA, this was a good product. They didn't make silly mistakes like this. This, to me, is a silly mistake because you could have plotted around this and you chose to have the commercial break in the middle of the match.
They will do like an entrance. They'll do like 5 minutes of entrances, and then the guys will lock up, and then they'll go to commercial. It's like, just have the guys start in the ring, like, or something. They programmed you to tell you that the entrances are more important than the match.
I get that. They put a lot of stock into entrances. I mean, of course, pro wrestling always has. But I agree, like, we don't need the fucking long-ass entrances, but that probably what's in, like, if you're trying to introduce new people to characters, the entrances might do more than the in-ring stuff. I mean, the in-ring stuff is really for us, it's for the marks. I I don't know. I don't know. Were you surprised that it let off the show, Jason?
Very. No disrespect to Rhea and Mercedes Martinez. I like both. I haven't seen the match. I heard it was really good. But once again, this is a title match from an Iron Man match from the week before, where you
wasn't the gimmick though that it was.
I'm
sorry to interrupt. Wasn't the gimmick though that they had no time limit? So didn't they kind of have to do it not at the end?
It was sudden death. So I guess if you wanted to say if it was a no time limit match, okay, no time limit match. Then put Rhea Ripley, Mercedes Martinez up front. You could throw Velveteen Dream and all the other nonsense behind it and open up the second hour with the title match. And if you wanted to go 30 minutes, you can. If you wanted to wait until the last 30 minutes of the second hour, you can do that. I just thought leading off the show with the title match kind of, for lack of better expression, it blew its wad early. And like I said, it's taken away from the focus.
That's disgusting, Jason. My brother's name is Jacob.
As long as you got the right name, I don't blow my wad early.
Oh, that's disgusting. That's my brother's name. Since when does WWE even fuck around with the time limit, though? Like, when has WWE ever had a time limit?
For NXT, you do have the time limit. You got 2 hours.
Since
you can't go over.
No. I know that, but Zach was saying that it had to lead off because there was no time limit for the match. But there's never been a time limit for a match in WWE except for Iron Man matches, right?
No, I would just.
I think it's just a way to say this could go long, right? Like, it's just a way to be like, hey, you want to watch this because it could, you know what I mean? It could be super long, even though any of them could be super long.
It was such a long way to get to Finn Balor versus Adam Cole. I mean, we talked about this last week. Why not have the Iron Man match be for the title and just have a tournament getting there? They had to do all this garbage to get to Cole versus Balor?
That's what happens when you're counter booking, man.
Well, it's stupid, and I don't like it.
Me either.
It wasn't that bad. Ultimately, the match was good.
Yes,
the
match was
little
good.
Things that make me look at it a different way.
Of course,
you know what I'm saying?
The match
should be a title match, or I shouldn't say that. It was a title match. It should be the main event.
The match,
like I said, I haven't seen Ripley versus Mercedes Martinez. But honestly, call me what you want to do. I don't care. If you have a title match, it should be the main event.
The Ripley versus Martinez was a good match, like way above average, and like a good steel cage match too. They made good work of the cage. Adam Cole matches, when he gets time to dig in there, they're really fun because about 4/5 of the way through the match, they start having a bunch of near falls, but it's not a bunch of finisher near falls. They're like believable. I don't know what I'm trying to say because I've never been a wrestler, but the guy knows how to construct a match. He with his agents and Adam Cole, I know he was I think all three of us chose him as our wrestler of the year last year, but the guy can really put together a match, and Balor and Cole did not leave much on the table except for the commercial breaks.
I especially like Finn's. Oh, I'm sorry. I especially like Finn's Triple X thing going on, the FXXX. I don't know why. It's just good branding, and he's got cool new tattoos and a hot new wife, and I'm really liking this. Smarky Finn Balor, who uses smarky language in his smarky promos. He's speaking directly to my heart.
Wow.
No, I agree with ultimately everything you guys said. We took the scenic route to get to being Finn Balor as champion, but I think if Cross doesn't get hurt, we're not even having this discussion. So let's look at it like that. I mean, they made the best out of the chicken shit that they were given, and we got Finn Balor as a champion. We got some good a couple good matches out of it.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, this is a better place to be than Karrion Kross. I would rather have Finn Balor have the belt as a babyface than Karrion Kross as a heel. Yeah, wouldn't you?
I was kind of waiting to see Kross versus Ciampa Part 2. You know, were they going to double down on the fact that Kross basically squashed Ciampa the first time around, or is Ciampa coming back to reclaim his throne as daddy? You know, that to me was interesting. But I mean, like I said, I'm good with Finn Balor being champion. This has possibilities to Cameron Grimes is the first guy I'm thinking off the top of my head. Timothy Thatcher might be another guy because they did wrestle at TakeOver. So I mean, that has possibilities too.
I think Thatcher's kind of got the jetpack. While we're here, we'll just talk about some other NXT Wednesday things. Let's see. So we had Martinez versus Ripley, which is good. Ripley won. So I would think that Ripley is probably making her way towards Io Shirai. Wouldn't you, Zach?
I would hope so. I mean, Jesus Christ, how long is he going to fuck around with the Robert Stone brand before they give her a title match?
Totally. Jason?
For everybody's sake, that's a real Ripley fan. I hope so too, because you guys are getting ready to lose your fucking minds if she doesn't get another title match.
No, what are you talking about? It sounds like you're talking about people that you talk to on Twitter that have nothing to do with me and Zach. What are you Who are you talking to?
No, it was an indirect shot at Zach, actually.
Ooh, shots fired. We also had Roddy Strong versus Killian Dane. Killian Dane loses. Fish and Strong start putting the boots to Killian Dane. Drake Maverick comes out for the save. Killian Dane doesn't destroy him instantly. Now, this might not seem like a whole bunch, and this is obviously mid-card, but I do like Killian Dane good enough to... I just like that they're doing something with him, right? Don't you think so, Zach?
I'm like lukewarm on him. I don't wish him any ill. I think he does well, and I want him to be employed and stuff. Like, I'm not gonna be mega harsh or anything, but I'm just lukewarm. I don't have any strong feelings about him, and I can't speak to this segment because my Hulu version didn't include it.
Translation: Zach wants Killian Dane's kids to starve. Jason, what do you think about Killian Dane?
I've always thought he was a strong mid-card heel, but even when he was with Sandy and Sandy had their run, it seemed like he went under the radar a little bit because of Eric Young, and I don't have a problem with that. But then when they broke him away from Sandy, there was another opportunity right there to be, that strong mid-card heel. That didn't work. So now I guess they're just putting this thing together with Drake Maverick that really doesn't make sense. So, I mean, I just think this is just another, not even an attempt. It's just a poor way of WWE utilizing their talent in a scenario where, okay, we don't have anything planned for Killian Dane, so let's throw him with, I don't know, Drake Maverick. Ever since that big, work that we got worked on a few weeks ago, we haven't heard high hair from Drake Maverick. So it's WWE booking at its finest. We're just putting shit together for two guys we really don't have plans for at the moment. So it's kind of disappointing because I like Killian Dane. I think he's one of those guys with size that you don't, especially in 2020, you just don't get a lot of anymore. You can't teach size. He's a big guy. If you could get somebody to talk for him, like Eric Young, maybe you could have did something with him.
Oh, yeah, they should have put him together with Eric Young. That would have been a good pairing. That's really smart.
Yeah, right? It makes sense.
Last thing I want to talk about NXT, unless you guys have anything else to bring up, is there was Breezango is now our NXT Tag Team title holders, which I enjoy because I'm a big Fandango mark. Fandango dropped his Fandango voice and just talked in his regular Johnny Curtis voice. They talked a bunch of shit on Imperium. They did call him Emporium, which I thought was really funny. And Imperium talked a bunch of shit on them, too. Where are you guys at on Breezango as being tag champs? What do you think, Jason?
For Fandango, it's way overdue. I think we all kind of forget, conveniently or not so much, that once upon a time, this guy beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania.
I don't forget that, Jason.
I know you don't forget that, but every now and then I have to remind myself because, he beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. Chris Jericho on this podcast is arguably a Mount Rushmore candidate, if not already so. That's, for me, is where my frustration with WWE comes back again. So you have this guy beat Jericho, and then what? Okay, yeah, he had some injuries, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily preclude you from giving this guy another push. I'm all for Breezango getting a title run, especially Tyler Breeze. I mean, he should have been an NXT champion when that bad boy first got really jump started on the network or whatever, and that didn't happen. So yeah, for me personally, it's two guys that should have had singles runs as a champion in some form or fashion. Now that they're together as tag team champions, if they can get past Imperium, which is a coin flip at this point, they should have a nice little run with the titles. If not, then I can easily see them being broken up or cast back to tag team mid-card purgatory here momentarily.
Zach, what do you think?
I mean, I really like those guys a lot, but I feel like not necessarily saying this is like their fault, because it's definitely not, and it's not like Imperium's fault either, but I feel like the NXT tag titles are the most irrelevant they've been in years. And that's just kind of a more of NXT becoming more like the main roster. That's
hard to argue. I'll tell you what. You know what, guys? We got a bunch of odds and ends to get to, though. So, you know what? We appreciate everybody listening to our 3 counts.
1, 2, 3.
This is banned from ringside.
Okay, everybody. Zach had to go, and
don't forget you got.
Go ahead.
Nothing. It's totally irrelevant. Go ahead.
What were you going to say, Jason? Just say it.
That you have football tonight. Don't forget to bet on football.
Thank you. I already did that. Zach had to go TCB, take care of business. He had some stuff to do, so we are back. Now the men can talk. I already bet on football. I appreciate you reminding me, but I already bet on football. I took the Chiefs minus 9.5, 9.5, and I also took the over of 53.
Ooh.
You know what I did this week, Jason?
That's why I say you did a lot of betting. I know.
Yeah, and I'm winning, but do you know what I did this week in terms of wrestling?
Do tell.
I watched SmackDown.
Shut the fuck up!
I watched SmackDown.
What? I thought I was going to be the one that actually watched SmackDown this week. I was really intrigued about what I read was happening, so I felt like I had to watch it.
I watched SmackDown, and so you watched SmackDown too?
I haven't. That's on my list of things to do tonight.
I'll tell you what, it was good.
No, I read what happened, so I mean, I can at least talk about it.
So Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman come out. Heyman cuts a destructive promo, just a great promo. Reigns comes in, and Reigns is a full-fledged heel, and I like that. What do you think about?
I agree. This is John Cena all over again. We were crying for John, well, at least I was, for Cena to go heel one more time before he took off, and now this is what we're getting with Roman Reigns. I think this Roman Reigns gives us more options for storylines and opponents versus face Roman Reigns.
It was a great promo. Smash cut to the main event, which was a fatal 4-way between Jey Uso, Sheamus, Matt Riddle, and Baron Corbin. And Jey Uso goes over. So Jey Uso is the number one.
Did he go over clean?
He went over clean, yes. And he is. You know what? I don't remember.
Baron Corbin.
You know what? I don't remember. It was either Riddle or Corbin.
It was probably Corbin, but that's fine. Doesn't matter.
Jey Uso is your number one contender. What do you think about that?
I heard about that, and I can't lie, my knee-jerk reaction was, what the fuck? But then I stopped to think about it. You can go with this one or two ways, and this is why I say heel Roman has options. Option one is you can use this as a way to get him more heat. He comes out and basically destroys Jey Uso, foregoing all family ties, and makes him look bad on a main event stage. Option two is somehow this becomes a bloodline faction where you get the Usos, Roman Reigns. If you wanted to throw in Tamina or Naomi or both for that matter, you could do that. So that
or the other Uso.
No, that's what I'm saying. Roman and the Usos.
Right.
That's your three. Tamina / Naomi as woman representation is 4/5. So, I mean, the way I'm counting right now, you can have up to at least 5 members right now. I'm okay with that.
I'd make them all. Now, I like Reigns versus Uso as a one-off. It's obvious that Jey Uso's not going to win at Clash of Champions, but it can certainly solidify Roman Reigns as a very heelish figure, which they're not shying away from. They're not playing a tweener. I mean, he's a fucking heel, which to me is very cool. I'm interested in Roman Reigns for the first time in a long time. I love the pairing. Totally. I love the pairing of him and Heyman. I think it's going to be really cool when Brock comes back, and it's going to be
that's the other option. Babyface Brock versus heel Roman Reigns. It gives it a whole nother dimension. You put Heyman in the middle. This is Punk versus Lesnar all over again, just with one different guy. I would be okay with that, even though we kind of ran Lesnar versus Roman into the ground a couple of years back. Now that we've switched the roles, and Roman's not going to lose the title anytime soon, Brock, I would assume, will eventually come back.
For WrestleMania at least, or WrestleMania season.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If he doesn't, I can't believe I'm getting ready to say this, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Roman versus The Rock as the backup plan for WrestleMania.
Whew, that's a big call. That would also be fun. Some other stuff happened on SmackDown. Big E was supposed to be in that Fatal 4-Way. Sheamus took him out. So Sheamus and Big E is continuing after Big E won the pay-per-view match. We also had... Now, I said during the intro, I said that Bayley turned heel, and Jason rightly called me out on that. Bayley didn't turn heel. More like Bayley turned on her tag team partner, Sasha Banks, who was going to be the babyface in the feud. Do you think that was the right move, having Bayley stay heel and Sasha Banks turn babyface?
Ooh.
Sasha Banks seems like such a natural heel.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was just getting ready to say. But Bayley's had a really good heel run.
I agree.
I don't see why in kayfabe style, there's not a reason that Bayley would all of a sudden just, turn a new leaf. Sasha's been the one that's been getting pretty much played out throughout the storyline. So in storyline sense, it makes sense that Sasha's the babyface. Like I said, I haven't seen it. I heard it was pretty brutal how the beatdown occurred. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to actually them getting into this storyline again. Can we actually see the match? We teased it. Now it looks like we're going down that road. I want to see it sooner versus later, but even if it happens at Clash of Champions, we're going to get a rematch in some form or fashion, if Sasha wins especially.
As much as we kill WWE on this podcast, and we kill them a lot, we have to give them credit where credit is due. They told a very good slow burn story, Sasha Banks and Bayley. I mean,
yeah.
There's no other way to describe it. Like, it was a slow burn, and we got there, and it felt like the breakup between Sasha Banks and Bayley was earned. Don't you agree?
No, I agree with that totally. It was one of those things where I was like most wrestling fans that was just getting impatient. But as this storyline progressed, they won all the titles. They're on top, but you can still see, little chinks in the armor, especially where Bayley wasn't necessarily trying to go all out to help Sasha. So you knew it was going to happen. It happened a little sooner than I anticipated happening on Friday, but ultimately they did this one right. And as much as, like you said, we kill these jokers all the time, on hindsight, they got this one right, and I'm invested totally in this. That and Roman Reigns. I mean, honestly, I'm more looking forward to watching SmackDown lately than I am more invested in Raw.
Man, we'll get to Raw in a second. Raw is just a mess. I mean, it's a serious mess. But before we get there, I just want to talk about Sami Zayn's return. Sami Zayn came out holding his old Intercontinental trophy, or his Intercontinental belt trophy. What the fuck? He was holding it, and he yelled at the ring announcer. He said, "That what kind of introduction is that? You should introduce me as Intercontinental Champion, Sami Zayn." Hardy came out and disputed this, which this has been
title versus title.
Yeah, this is. I know we're getting a Clash of Champions. This has been something that's always bothered me about WWE television. That when somebody gets stripped of their title because they couldn't show up, and somebody else ends up having it, the person that holds it should understand completely where the person that it got stripped from is coming from, right? Like Jeff Hardy has to say, kayfabe style, he has to say, yeah, this guy never lost it. I won it because this guy couldn't show up because of COVID or whatever.
Okay,
it's the same way. It's the same way as when CM Punk beat John Cena, and CM Punk left, and then the next week at Raw, John Cena, they have a vacancy, and John Cena beats Rey Mysterio. CM Punk comes out, and John Cena's like, "No, this is my belt." It's like, no, motherfucker, I just beat you last week. But AJ comes out, AJ Styles comes out, and they both beat the shit out of Hardy. Sami Zayn walks away doing the haluva kick, and it looks like we're going to have a triple threat at Clash of Champions between Sami Zayn, Jeff Hardy, and AJ Styles. Now, that's very exciting to me. You know how I feel about triple threat matches.
No, I was going to say it's the Bill Vegas special. I totally forgot about the AJ Styles factor into that, so that now it just makes it a little more interesting. I do agree with you in the sense that, it would be smart, creative writing to acknowledge Jeff Hardy is the champion because Sami Zayn couldn't defend the title. The difference between the Punk analogy and the Sami Zayn analogy, the Punk analogy is based off a contract. His contract ended, so they had to renegotiate. That's something that you kind of could say on TV in kayfabe and have it work.
Sami Zayn
basically left because of COVID.
He had a legit great promo on SmackDown, and it was a great segment on SmackDown between him, Hardy, and AJ Styles. And I just love having Sami Zayn back. It's as soon as he came up, I was like, I can't believe how much I didn't realize I missed this guy. Sami Zayn is an incredible heel, and when he wants to be a babyface, he's an incredible babyface. And it was a great segment. And
Sami Zayn knows how to stir the drink. There's no question about that.
No doubt about it. The only thing I wanted to mention of a SmackDown, I know you didn't watch it, is that Heavy Machinery had a match against Miz and Morrison. Morrison took the suitcase and ran away with the Money in the Bank suitcase. Otis and Tucker. Otis said he didn't care about it. Because Otis had the lunchbox, and the lunchbox had the Money in the Bank contract in it. Morrison opened up the suitcase and a briefcase, and it had a sandwich in it. And All this does is underscore for me how terrible of an idea it was to have Otis win the Money in the Bank briefcase. Just a terrible, just one of the worst. They fucked up 2 years in a row now, Jason. 2 years in a row they fucked up with having Brock Lesnar win it a couple years ago, or 2 years ago, and then having Otis win this time. It's a terrible booking decision. The Money in the Bank briefcase is one of the best things that they have going, and they fucked it up, Jason.
Okay, I will agree with Brock Lesnar. Brock does not need to have the Money in the Bank briefcase at any point. Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar. He can come back next week and be right in the title hunt. That was stupid. Agreed. Now, Otis is a little different. I'm not saying I totally disagree.
Don't do it.
Because obviously on record, I did not agree with the initial booking. My thought was probably Aleister Black was the guy that could have benefited from this long term.
You're a nerd.
Now, that said, I think with Roman Reigns coming back and is now champion, it makes it double worse, because I can't see a scenario unless the locker room empties and jumps Roman, and then Otis comes out and cashes it in.
Of course not.
Take the title off of Roman Reigns at this point. So they backed themselves into a booking corner where they tried to be cute and put it on Otis. At the time, you had either Bray, Braun Strowman, Goldberg as potential champions. Weird shit can happen with any of those three guys. We've seen it before, so at that point, it kind of made sense.
I can't believe they made it. I can't believe they made the decision to give the Money in the Bank briefcase to Otis. I still can't believe it. It's still.
Why can't you?
Because it's fucking stupid.
Really?
Yeah,
really.
No, yeah, that's.
We're gonna actually have an argument or debate on. You can't believe that WWE would do some foolish booking.
Yeah, but in the Money in the Case, I keep saying Money in the Case. The Money in the Bank. Sorry, I told you I'm off all week. I've been drinking since like 2:00. But
God, I'm so jealous.
But they put the briefcase in the hands of somebody who's not a main eventer. It's not the same thing as putting it in Baron Corbin's hands. It's not the same thing as having even Damian fucking Sandow win it. They put it into it's the equivalent of having Yano win the G1.
Ew. Hang on, man.
Think about it.
Just put a little shiver up my back.
Think about it. Think about it. Am I wrong, though?
Okay, no. I get what you're saying. But we always complain about we want them to make new stars. This was their attempt to make a new star. Now, for whatever reason, whether it was COVID or no plan after the fact,
fucking
or Roman Reigns coming back,
motherfucker. He fucking sucks, man.
I'm not. He had. If it was fans in the arena, I think this might have some legs. I think the fact that there's nobody. Well, I shouldn't say nobody, but there's not true fans in the stands. I think that was part of the reason why they did it to begin with. And then, like I said, with other things coming up, it just made it more and more less likely that he was actually going to cash in and be successful. At this point, I'm just waiting for him to try to cash in. Roman fuck him up, or if they have the faction fucks him up, make an example out of him.
This is the equivalent, Jason, this is the equivalent of 1999 having Scotty 2 Hotty win the Royal Rumble.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the worst booking decisions they've ever made.
I'm not good. I'm not going to sit up here and say that it is not a bad decision.
Defend it, motherfucker.
They tried to make a new star when they were possibly getting fans back. They put him over, and then they didn't capitalize on the momentum after the fact. There was chances that I'm not even saying he should have cashed in successfully. If they thought that there was some point that, okay, this ain't going to work, they've done it before, let's just set it up to where he loses the briefcase and we can all move on. The problem is that they haven't done it, and then the bigger problem is now that Roman Reigns is the champion, there's no way in hell they can do it.
No, of course not. I mean, you couldn't put Otis against any single person that could even be considered to be main event. He can even consider to be top of the card. It's fucking stupid, and I will not let it go. So
no, bite on that motherfucker. I ain't mad at you. Far from it.
You know, we haven't talked about.
What's that?
My man Miro.
Yeah.
AKA Rusev showed up this week on AEW Dynamite, and that is legit exciting. And I like that they didn't bring him in the main event just to have him get beat by Moxley or something like that. I like that I'm glad he's there, though, because as long as this podcast has been around, which has been a while now, 3 years. As long as the podcast has been around, it's been known. Shut up, Xander. My cat keeps meowing. It's been well known that I am a Rusev mark.
True story.
I love the man. I think that he's great. I love him as a babyface. I love him as a heel, and I love that he's in AEW. Jason, my question for you is it time for AEW, considering the fact we didn't even talk about Matt Sydal showing up at All Out. Matt Sydal, a.k.a. Evan Bourne, a.k.a. Went to Mizzou, Mizzou. Is it time for them to start a second show? Because if... hold on, sorry to cut you off, but if Jericho and Hager are going to be tag teams...
Right.
I like Jericho and Hager being a tag team because they don't have anything to do in the main event. And, of course, Jericho and Hager should probably be on TV. But I don't want them to bury an already stacked tag team division. Is it time for AEW? And regardless of what TNT thinks, regardless of Tony Khan, this is just completely outside the box. Is it time for them to have a second show?
Okay, let's jump back for a second. Saturday night with Evan Bourne, that was obviously a slip. They were saying it was 100 degrees. I'm just glad he made it okay and continued into the match. You know,
bit of a botch,
Evan Bourne. Yeah. Just going to that with Miro, that could have been the Miro spot, and I'm glad that they didn't do that. Give Evan Bourne that chance, and then you can come back with Miro on Dynamite, which we all kind of knew was going to happen at some point, but I didn't expect it to happen right there. So in that part, kudos to the AEW there. Kudos to Miro on the obligatory "fuck you" WWE promo. The brass ring can shove up your ass. I can't lie. I laughed out loud. I think the Kip Sabian Miro connection is going to be interesting. I thought that Miro would turn on him right away, but that didn't happen. So we're waiting to see there. Now the tag team division and just the AEW in general, it's now getting to the point where I don't think they need to be signing anybody else. Because like you said, I was thinking about Jericho and Hager being the next, tag team. They're going to get a push, so it's going to be at somebody's expense. Let's say like a private party or an SCU that's basically, not necessarily
the Butcher and the Blade.
Blade, yeah. Teams that could get a push, Butcher and Blade,
Best Friends,
private party, Well, I think Best Friends are fine. I mean, Santana or Ortiz are the ones that might be in trouble. Lucha Brothers, they might be in trouble.
Young Bucks.
So it's
Jurassic Express. I mean, their tag division is stacked.
It is stupidly stacked. So when they said that Jericho and Jericho and Hager were going after the tag titles, I'm like, Jesus Christ, okay, that should be enough. Dark, I think, needs to be the second show, but just call it something different. You can keep Dark as a concept. If you want to do it like an hour or 2 hours like they've been doing it or whatever the case may be, you can keep Dark. But I think it might be time for a second show, because now it's getting to the point where, like Scorpio Sky in that 8-man tag, he basically was non-existent. But he has talent, and you got to get him on TV some kind of way. You can't do it on Dark anymore. So this is where I think a second show needs to kind of happen. But the question is, where do you put it?
I mean, if you're talking about Scorpio Sky, I would put him with the Hurt Business, but that's just me.
I want to talk about Cedric, though. I do like that movie.
Yeah, let's move over to Raw, because as bad as Raw is, Cedric Alexander did turn heel, which makes it, and he joined the Hurt Business, which makes it a full-fledged stable, which I am completely down with. Shelton Benjamin, MVP, Cedric Alexander, and who am I forgetting?
Lashley.
That's a good stable. That is a stable that I want to see wrestle. Now, I would like to see them build up another stable that's maybe not all black guys, but maybe not all white guys, because it just seems like, I've said it here before, that it just seems like Vince just wants to put all the black guys on the same segment so they can just have one segment. I mean, I guess Street Profits are out there too. What you think about Cedric Alexander turning heel? Sorry, I have the hiccups.
For me, long time coming. I think once again, this is one of those scenarios where we forget that he and Kota Ibushi had one of the best Cruiserweight Classic matches in the lone tournament that they had. So he's got talent. It was just a scenario where you can fit him in. He had a nice 205 run as Cruiserweight champion, but obviously being moved to Raw, things kind of stalled for him. I think this is a great move, just in the sense of how the storyline is kind of unfolded. Ricochet was that guy, and he's always kind of been moved ahead of Cedric. So it would be natural to be a little jealous or whatever. MVP kind of touched on that nerve, and it finally happened last week. Now, from there, I know he got the pin on Monday night, but, we still kind of need to get him some momentum. If you want to have Shelton Benjamin chase the 24/7 title, knock yourself out. Bobby Lashley needs to be going after whoever the heavyweight champion is. Cedric Alexander needs to be that solid mid-card guy and take him seriously, kind of like the way you did with Apollo Crews. Build him up and make him a legitimate mid-card guy. And then if you can move him up, you can do so. If not, at least he's not, jobbing out week after week or looking silly, chasing after the 24/7 title when he had, like I said, a great match against Kota Ibushi.
Sure. Let me ask you this. Jason, you're a black guy, right?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so we have MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, Cedric Alexander, Apollo Crews, Ricochet, R-Truth, Keith Lee, all receiving above average television time for a 3-hour show. We also have Big E, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods are both hurt, obviously. But is this the most black dudes that we've ever had receiving major television time in WWE history?
My knee-jerk reaction is to say yes. Obviously, we'd have to go back to the Nation of Domination days. And even then, I can't think of a black tag team that would stand out.
I forgot about Street Profits. Street Profits.
So that's what I'm saying. I'll be a slave to recency bias here, and I'm going to agree with you that this is probably the most we've seen men of color on WWE programming and actually having success in various degrees.
Well,
but yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, not even men of color, because if you talk about non-white people, which I'm obviously not grouping black people together with Hispanics, but if we're talking about non-white people, because it's been a very white business for a long time. We also
kinda is.
we also have the Mysterios.
True.
We also have Andrade and Angel Garza, who have been on TV a lot. We also have Randy Orton, who gets tan a whole bunch. We also I just think that it's
it's good to see the diversity, but I need to see more.
Sure.
I'm
totally.
Where
I'm not being out here being like the problem is solved or anything.
No.
I'm just saying that, man, there's a lot of black dudes on WWE TV.
No, there are, and there's no question about it. And for a corporation, company, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't have the best
track record
with blacks, there's something to be said. So you can't piss on that. But on the flip side, like you said, all the black guys are grouped together, all the Hispanics are grouped together.
Yeah, I wish they'd kind of get away with
fighting each other, and at that point, that's where it starts to get old. I'm waiting for, okay, let's get away from fucking with Apollo Crews, and let's look at Lashley versus maybe Randy Orton if Orton wins the title at Clash of Champions. Throw him out there like that. I'm still waiting for Lashley versus Lesnar. That was the whole thing that I wanted when he first came back.
I know they're both black dudes, but Lashley versus Keith Lee sounds awesome to me.
I wouldn't have any problem with that. I'm sure they've done that on the indie circuit in some form or fashion. If they haven't, they need to be doing it now, because that's a match that is pretty much primed and ready to go. You could do it tomorrow. I mean, hell, you can have Keith Lee, feud against the whole Hurt Business. I know we just said,
sure,
no more black on black crime, but once again, that kind of makes sense. That actually makes sense.
Yeah,
Apollo Crews kind of made sense.
Keith Lee versus the Hurt Business Keith Lee versus the Hurt Business to me sounds cool. Like if Keith Lee goes for Lashley's Intercontinental belt, that sounds to me like, or is it the U.S.?
He's the U.S. champion.
I mean, I would like to see that. A couple more things I want to talk about. For a wrestling podcast, I don't think we've said this word one time on this podcast, and maybe we have.
What?
Retribution. Have we even talked about Retribution?
Yeah, I think we have. I was about to say
I guess I'm not sure what it is. Like, I'm still not sure what it is. It still seems so cartoonish that they bring in this outside faction. Oh, they're coming in. And it's always like post-SummerSlam, pre-Royal Rumble bullshit. I don't know what Retribution is. I don't care who Retribution is. Should I, Jason?
It's Nexus Light, and I guess that's what my problem with this is
that sounds like a big no.
No, I don't think there's a reason to pay attention at this point, because, I mean, with the Nexus, like I said earlier, they've done, when they were introduced, debuted, or whatever, they beat down John Cena and everybody else around them.
Oh,
Retribution is beat down. Yeah, Retribution is not beating down anybody of John Cena's ilk, or Daniel Bryan, or I don't know if it was.
Yeah, and what is Raw Underground? Like, why would they have Aleister Black versus Kevin Owens at Raw Underground and then keep cutting away from it? Like, if these guys are in the midst of this super passionate fucking I'm going to kill you motherfucker type of match, then why do they keep cutting away from it so that we can watch Shayna Baszler in a handicap match versus Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan? It's fucking stupid.
Okay, we could touch on two things at once. Raw Underground is their not excuse, but it's an attempt to try something new. Some like it, some don't. I'm on the latter side. I've given it.
Who likes it? Who's it for?
I think it's for people that like the sports entertainment portion of it. It's something that's not wrestling. It's different, which is fine. I don't like it because it's not what I signed up for. If I wanted to watch this, I know where UFC is. I know where Bellator is.
Right.
That's legit.
Exactly.
This
Strike
is
Force.
this is a poor man's Fight Club. And Fight Club was way better than what this is. Okay? Talk to me about Basler versus the Riot Squad, because I heard Basler had one of them in like a submission and they broke out of it?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Okay, here's my problem with that, if I read this correctly. So let me get this straight. Shayna Baszler taps out 2 women at the same time to win the tag team titles, but can't tap out 1 woman by herself in a handicap match. Same chick that ran through the Elimination Chamber.
That's sports entertainment, baby.
Okay, but see, then there's my problem with it. Okay, if you want to push Liv Morgan for obvious reasons, like I said, I'm not a huge fan. There is some talent there, but I don't see outside of the physical look anything to go gaga over. Ruby Riott to me is the more talented, but for WWE, she ain't got their look. If you're going to push them, then push them in a scenario where it doesn't make someone else look bad. For me, this makes Shayna Baszler look bad. There's no way on God's green earth that if it's Liv Morgan breaking out of this or even Ruby Riott breaking out of the submission hold, that shouldn't be happening. Okay, she just tapped out 2 women at once, 2 of the top women in the whole company.
He's heating up
to win the tag team titles, and now you're going to do that? That's what I don't like, man. See, Shayna Baszler shouldn't even be in a tag team at this point. She should be going after.
Well, I think that we're moving towards Shayna Baszler versus Nia Jax, and then we're moving towards Mickie James versus Asuka. But ultimately, I think it's going to be Shayna Baszler versus Asuka. Last thing I want to talk about, we had Buddy Murphy versus Dominic Mysterio. I don't know why they have to bring the family in. Fine, it's whatever. I do want to talk about one spot, though, where Dominic Mysterio, Murphy was trying to pull a table out from underneath the, as Dusty Rhodes would say, plunder. He's trying to pull stuff out from underneath the ring, and Dominic Mysterio slid underneath the bottom rope and did a sunset flip and put Buddy Murphy through a table. I probably watched it 6 times. It was very impressive. Dominic Mysterio looks super young. I don't know how old he is. Do you know how old he is?
I don't think he's that old. Yeah, I was going to guess and say like he's in his early 20s, if anything. I don't know if he's able to drive or not yet, but
I know he looks so young. He knows what he's doing, though.
I want to hate on him. I can't. I mean,
why do you want to hate on him? Because somebody else should be getting that spot.
Like it's so much so fast. You know what I'm saying? It's like other guys that have been in the company for like a year, 2 years, 3 years. All of a sudden, here comes Dominic Mysterio, and granted, he's got the name, so he's going to have certain advantages that other guys don't. Charlotte the same way, so I'm not going to sit up here and say that
Charlotte's also very good.
Okay, and that's where I was just getting ready to say that the reason why I can't hate on Dominic is because time after time he performs at a level that he shouldn't be for this early in his career.
He's really really impressive. And
he's way better than I thought. I'm waiting for him to, make a botch, and he just doesn't. This was the first time where I really felt like he could stand on his own 2 feet without Dad being around. So that was a good thing. The family jumping in, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Knock yourself out. It's Murphy.
Whatever.
I mean, it's not like, we really hurting anybody on this scenario. So,
right.
All in all, I'll give credit where the credit is due. Dominic Mysterio has surpassed my expectations.
All right.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Okay, we got some birthdays this week. Jason, we have Don Morocco.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. 71. Matt Morgan. I loved his finisher in TNA, the carbon footprint. He's 44. Trevor Murdoch is 40. Paul Heyman. How old do you think Paul Heyman is?
My age is this. We'll add 15 on 61.
55. Road Warrior Animal is 60. Baron Corbin is 36. Teddy Long is 73. Holla, 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 holla.
Just for that.
And
the match with the Undertaker.
And Penelope Ford is 28. Hey, everybody. We know there's tons of podcasts to listen to. So we very much so appreciate you guys listening to ours. For Bo Geisman.
Check.
For F&B Eatery.
Check.
For Lucha Chris.
Check.
For Murray the Murray Man Murray.
Check.
For Two Beer Zach Pullman.
Sell that bad 2 beer, get that money, player.
For Jason Cornelius Bell. For Bill Vagey.
Check.
Everybody, support your local weed dealer. Check. Black Lives Matter, and everybody, boo the heels.